don't wait to start putting out great content and making these connections. The person that you're marketing to, you're kind of a big deal in their mind because that's what they're seeing. People think they send too much email. The irony is you're not sending enough, right? If you send relevant stuff, then you could send stuff every single day. But if you don't send enough, you're not in front of them. They're not thinking about you. They don't remember you.
All right, guys and girls, let's get rolling here, and the next 50 minutes is going to be fun for my seat that I'm sitting in. Today's guest didn't just crack the code to be in email marketing. He wrote the playbook the best in the world follow. Jay Schwedelson's the founder of World Data, the creator of SubjectLine.com, and host of top-ranked marketing podcast, Do This, Not That, with an exclamation point. With over 40,000 campaigns under his belt, clients like P&G, Home Depot, and HP on speed dial, he knows what gets opened, what gets ignored, and what actually moves people to act. In a world flooded with noise, Jay's superpower is clarity, real-world tactics, and I think my favorite part that we'll dig into is zero fluff. From the psychology of what makes people click, the tools entrepreneurs need right now to grow, we're breaking it all down. Get ready for a no BS, high-impact conversation that will change the way you think about messaging, marketing, and momentum. Jay, welcome, man. He's pumped. He's
fired up. Let's do it. Excited.
From Florida. He's ready to roll from Florida.
Yes, sir.
So hey, I just saw on your Instagram, you spent most of your time on LinkedIn, but I checked it out, and it was a 10-second short that had, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for copyright or not, but it had a guy that was tripping over and pushing people to correct the typo before the post went out. And it was making fun of probably all the ridiculous things. What did that mean? I just caught that. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I think in general, when you're doing everybody out there that's marketing their businesses, doesn't matter what kind of business it is, we all spend so much time and energy. We try to make it perfect, right? And whether it's a social post, an email campaign, you're launching your website, whatever it is. And perfection is the enemy of progress. We all always say that, and it's the truth. And it's this idea of, listen, you get so nervous, you put it out there. Oh no, I found a mistake. What's going to happen? It's the end of the world. Who cares? Okay. Get it out there. It's okay. And get more of it out there. And I think that's the mentality we need to have when it relates to our marketing, because it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get out there.
If you go on LinkedIn, you check out your profile, due out in September of 25, it has a fire title. Best practices are garbage in marketing and life.
Well, I have to be honest. We just changed the title. You might like the new title better. I took a poll online. It was between best practices are garbage in marketing life or stupider people have done it. And we did a poll. And stupider people have done it, crushed it in terms of the title. So coming out in September, stupider people have done it. That's going to be my book.
Was it all the stupider people who answered the survey?
I'm one of the stupider people. I'll tell you exactly how that title came to be.
Yeah.
So when I was first getting going in business, I was struggling real bad. And I was never the smartest guy or anything like that. And I was in my office, and one day, this is real, my grandpa, who lived nearby, I didn't even know he stopped by my office, stopped by, and he saw me with my hands on my head. And he came up to me, he goes, Jay, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I don't know what you're doing here. And I go, I don't think I'm smart enough. I don't think I have the technical background. I don't think I have the education. I just don't think I can make the sales. I can't do it. And he put his arm around me and he goes, Jay, this is going to hurt. But stupider people than you have been able to do it. And it was like the greatest thing one human's ever said to another human. I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think there's somebody out there who's stupid that was able to do it. And that's all I needed to know. And for some reason, that has been the motivation for everything I've ever done.
So that's the hook that he had for you in life. So then
Yes.
what was the implementation of the process? Is it, I'm going to simplify, but I want you to expand. Is it like just keep going?
I mean, listen, I'm a big believer in consistency. You will beat out 95% of people if you are consistent and you don't stop. But it's also just looking at things, differently. So I'll give you an example. So I have two companies, but one of my companies is a marketing agency, an advertising agency. And I've been doing it forever. And early on, the first few years or whatever, I was really struggling to get clients. And what would happen is I would go into all these pitches And I'm sure it's not dissimilar to any industry anybody's in, but I would go in with these really big presentations, 50 slides. We do 400 things. I would tell everyone I do all this stuff. I'm the best at all of this stuff. And then at the end of every one of these pitches, I would almost never get the business because I would walk out of there and I was like, that guy does a lot. I don't know exactly what the hell he does. I don't even know what to use him for. And then one time walking out of one of the pitches, this guy said to me, he said, if you would have just focused on the email marketing stuff, because email was just getting going, he goes, we probably would have given you that business. And then maybe you would have gotten our other business. And then I quickly realized, I'm like, wait a minute. It's not that I'm not smart enough or whatever. It's that I'm giving people a job to figure out what the hell I do for a living. So I quickly was like, you know what? If you're trying to be known for everything, which is what I was trying to do, then you're known for nothing and nobody knows how to work with you. So I reconfigured everything. I said, you know what? I'm going to lead with email. I'm going to say we do email and then I'm going to try to get other business. So that night I went out I sat on my couch and I went on GoDaddy or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, how can I be known for email? I said, I'm going to make a free tool. So I bought this URL, subjectline.com. And I put up a website where still the same today. It's free. You go there, you put your subject line in, it tells you if it's good or bad. And instantly we became known as, hey, they're the company that does email. They got this subjectline.com website, whatever. And then we go into these pitches and I would win the email business, but I would get the other business. And if you fast forward, email's not even 40% of the revenue of my company, but we're still known, they do email. And I think it's really important to be known for something so that way you can get the other business. And so it's that whole idea of, you don't have to be the smartest one out there. You just have to kind of like understand people's mindset and how they can work with you. And I think that's how you win.
So you have to keep going long enough until you get it.
100%. You got to listen, if you go out there, and I live by this rule of 100% rule. Okay. So let's say you're doing some sort of marketing campaign or something, you're out there. Okay. And it's not going great. You're spending money on Meta. Maybe you're sending out some emails, whatever you're doing to promote whatever service or product you have. And you're like, oh man, I need to do better. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. I always say to myself, okay, let's say I make a bunch of changes and my performance goes up by 100%, which is highly unlikely. It's very unlikely I'm going to make a few changes and the performance of whatever I'm doing is going to go up by 100%. But if it did go up by 100%, is that good enough? Would that then mean it's profitable? It's a win. I should keep doing it. Because if if you go up by 100% and it's still not good enough for where you want to be, then you need to stop. You need to completely change what you're doing because the likelihood of you getting 100% higher conversions or leads or whatever is so unlikely that if that's not good enough, then just change everything because you're on a losing trajectory. And I think people stay too long. I think one of the secrets of business is fail fast, right? Don't just get invested in it because you tried, you thought it was a great idea, everyone told you a great idea. If it sucks and it's a loser, it's a loser. And so failing fast, I think, is critical.
So we talked about email. You're still doing it.'re known for it. Everybody said it was going to go away, like all the paper printing back in the day, right? So, but what's working right now? Let's not compare it to like 2005, but in 2025, we're at right now. What's working in 25 that isn't working in 24? Is even email changing this fast?
Email's always changing. I believe that your email database is the most valuable asset in your company. I believe that. And the reason I say that is there is no other mechanism. There's no other thing that when you want to tell your prospects or your customers about what you have going on, there's no other place that you can do that. You can't do it on TV. You'll hit a fraction. Social media, if you post, maybe 10% of your network, will see it. Search, you have to pay a boatload and you still won't get market coverage. So your email database is the thing where you press send, relatively no cost, and everybody will get the thing that is that you want to promote. So number one is you be extremely intentional about growing your email list. What does that even look like? If you don't have pop-up contact captures on your website, I think that you are making a massive mistake. So you go to a website, maybe you're on there for 30 seconds, okay? And then all of a sudden a pop-up pops up. And it says, hey, give us your email address and we'll give you this special guide to download or some discount or whatever. Now, a lot of people out there make the mistake. They're like, oh, those are epically annoying. I hate those. I never want to subscribe to those, whatever. But here's the reality. When you go to Nike's site, okay, and they have a pop-up, do you click the little X in the corner and just go on to buy your sneakers? Or do you say, I hate pop-ups. I'm never going to buy anything on the site. You click the X and you forget about it. but roughly 5 to 9% of first-time visitors to a site will actually give their email address if they're incentivized in some way with a discount or a guide or whatever. And if you don't grab their email address, then you have nothing to show for them visiting your site. So first off, you have to grow your database. And then the other thing is you have to stand out. The reason I started subjectline.com is that your subject line is so important. What you put in that subject line will determine whether or not somebody opens your email or not. Who cares what your offer is if they don't open the email? And the thing about subject lines that people are confused about, it used to be 10 years ago that in the subject line of your email, whether you're marketing to business professionals or consumers, it used to be that if you put the word free or special characters or capitalization or an emoji or whatever else in the subject line, you might get filtered as a spammer and go to the junk folder. People believe that there are these things called spam trigger words that if you put certain words in there, it's going to make you go to that spam or junk folder. And that was the case 10 years ago. That's not the case anymore. That's not reality. Even though people still tell people it's reality, it's not. You don't go to the spam folder or junk folder because of the words that you put in your subject line or your body copy. It's just not true. So what you want to do is think about the words in that subject line. And the most important thing in your subject line is the first word, the first two words, the first few characters, because we actually don't read the whole subject line. We only read the first part. So for example, if you start your subject line with an actual number, the 4 things all real estate professionals need to know. Okay, the 7 pitfalls to avoid in your small business. That will increase your open rates by about 20%. If you capitalize fully every letter in the first word to 2 words, just in, just released, new, all the letters, it will lift your open rates by about 15%. You want to think about what's happening in those first few characters because that is what's going to change the engagement on all of your marketing.
So we're talking about hooks, right?
Talking about hooks, but also you're talking about visual hooks, okay? Because people do the social scroll in their inbox. They're going really fast, and you need that millisecond pause. They need a millisecond pause, and it's not just about writing the greatest copy. It's, that number for some reason stands out a little bit. Starting with emoji stands out a little bit. Capitalizing stands out a little bit. Having an incredibly short subject line. Subject lines that are actually 2 words, okay, crush it. Why do they do so well? It doesn't even matter the words. It's because of all the white space that then exists right after those 2 words as compared to every other email that's in that inbox. It stands out and people don't realize it, but that millisecond pause is what gets them to engage.
Does this coincide and go hand in hand with all the new social platforms? Like you really crush LinkedIn, right? So you're an email marketing guy, but you really dominate when it comes to social on LinkedIn. So how do we know how these things come together? It seems like we almost did a PhD in marketing for this stuff.
Every one of these platforms is not only unto itself, but it's always changing. And that's a very, very hard thing to deal with. So for example, a lot of what I put out there is on LinkedIn. Well, I'll tell you, a year ago on LinkedIn, it was all about these, carousel posts and all this stuff. And that's what would get circulated. But LinkedIn wanted to become a video first platform like TikTok and whatever. So now LinkedIn has turned the knob, dialed down the circulation of these carousel posts, and now video, short form video, anything under 60 seconds, crushes it. It is super annoying to always have to, keep up with the algorithm, changes. I mean, you even see it on YouTube, right? On YouTube, it's no longer about you need a massive subscription, a high subscriber number in order to get circulation on your shorts. It really has nothing to do with how many subscribers you have. It has to do with how good your content is. And that's a change. That wasn't the case 2 years ago on YouTube. So every platform is different. But email, it is sort of unto itself, meaning that it doesn't change a lot in terms of, why people are engaging. But you have to think about what's in the mindset of people right now, right? So for the foreseeable future, for example, the economy is like a little bumpy. What's going to happen? I don't know, right? And actually layering in things that are value-based is much more important than loyalty-based, meaning that people want to look for discounts right now. They want to know, how do I save money? So words like budget, learn cost savings, wallet savers, whatever. Actually saying those words in your subject line, in your headers, that's what actually is driving engagement. Was that the case maybe 6 months ago? Maybe not, because everything kind of moves around a little bit. So think about the mindset of who you're marketing to, and that's what works.
It sounds like marketing is psychology.
Oh my God, I wish I took a psychology class, although I would have failed because in college I barely got through and science sucked for me. But honestly, it is all psychology. That's all it is.
So it just took you longer to learn without the degree, like all of us. When we try to do something we don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So to do some rapid fire stuff here, I saved this to the end, but I want to get into it just because I think there's so much knowledge in your brain that can help so many people. These aren't gotcha questions or anything. They're real. I think they're really questions that with answers, I think they can help a lot of people. So what's a subject line, since you talked about it, what's a subject line pet peeve that you have that initially stands out? You're like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a few of them. Number one, the fake reply or the fake flow forward, where it says RE colon whatever. That to me is ridiculous. And I'll tell you the reality of it. When you do that fake reply email as your outbound cold email, whatever, you will get a very high open rate, meaning the percentage of people open up. It will crush it as compared to like your newsletter sent, right? But two things happen. Number one, you're also going to get a phenomenal number of people saying, take me off your list, you're a horrible person, whatever. But you're actually putting out a negative signal into the world. And I don't think enough people think about negative signal. A negative signal is when that person now opens it, I get that email. I don't just say, oh, this email stinks. I think you stink. I think your brand stinks. And I don't want to interact with you at all. It's the same thing like sometimes people have email automation set up. They go to this page, they get an email. Oh, 6 months, they didn't do anything. You get this email. They have all these automations. A lot of times we're not keeping up to date with the automations that are firing off at each time. And so like just today, I got an automated trigger email from some company that said the 2024 guide to whatever. Now, here we are, smack dab in 2025. And to me, that brand now is a negative signal. They're not, they don't have their act together. They're not on top of things. And they don't even realize what they're doing, creating this negative signal. So a lot of these cheesy tactics in the subject line, like the RE colon stuff, it does more than just get you no response. It hurts your brand.
All right. So that's a good pet peeve. What's a marketing hill that you'll die on?
To not stop. We talked about it briefly before. I think, and you know this, most everybody will do something for like 2 to 3 months. Oh, I'll start a podcast. I'll start a newsletter. I'll start posting on social media. I'll do this, that, or whatever. It's like a diet, and then they stop. And the people that win are the ones that don't stop. It's very hard. Quickly, anything that you're doing to promote your business becomes a hamster wheel. You want to throw up. I mean, my podcast has put out 450 episodes. It is the bane of my existence. I don't want to do it, but I need to do it. And that's when people fail. And you just need to keep going. That is the secret to life.
So what's it look like to evolve versus quit? What's that look like?
For me, it's more coffee and it's waking up earlier. And to be very real with myself, I don't know. I'm not one of these believers. I know this is terrible. I don't love my job. I don't. I also think for young people, it's a horrible thing for people to think that they're supposed to love their job. All right. I'm passionate about what I do. I love the life that it gives me. But if you told me today, Jay, if you go out and sell bananas, you're going to make twice the amount of money. I would stop what I'm doing and I would go sell bananas because that's really all I care about at the end of the day. And I want to be, help people and be good to people and all that stuff. So that's, I think, being real and not chasing this like, oh my God, I need to love my job. I need to love everybody around me. That to me is a rest. Look, if you do, and you're in that 1% of people that do, good for you. You're awesome. But I don't.
I told a previous guest, it's somebody I actually talked about that was like a cowboy sitting down in my studio. I told him, I said, hey, I'm not a guy who's envious at all in my life. I know I can dictate and control my outcomes. I get busy taking action if I want something to be different. But I said, there's 2 scenarios or 2 situations that I actually have some jealousy around it. The first one's what you're talking about, that at 18 years old, the people knew what they wanted to do with their life. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. And so I realized I better choose something that's going to have a high ROI for my time so I can improve my life and those around me, because the chances that I'm going to find the thing I'm meant to do while I'm sitting around waiting, I'm probably going to get to into my life and wish I would have done something different.
Right.
And the second one is, I have a really good relationship. We've been together for a long time, but we're not there yet. Maybe we'll be. It's that 80-something-year-old couple sitting on a park bench holding hands, total at peace and content.
Yeah, man. Look, I feel good. I've been married for 22 years, and I got 2 great kids. All that stuff. I also think it's important to prioritize things. My mom always would tell me. She goes, "When the Grim Reaper comes for you at the end of life, You're not going to turn the Grim Reaper and say, I wish I had one more day in the office.
There you go.
You're just not. And that resonates with me that, you want to prioritize the things that are important to you to make sure you make time for them, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be like, I wish I got one more podcast episode out the door. So you do need to have, your priorities in order.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like these types of conversations, be sure to follow The Necessary Entrepreneur on your favorite platform so you never miss out on future content. What's the worst advice that you've seen online recently that you're like, you have got to be kidding me?
Oh, I think there's so much horrendous advice out there. Things like when I first started my career, it's like, be the first one in and the last one out of your office and show them that you're really dedicated, which is total horse crap, because you could do that all day long, right? And do nothing and be meaningless. And the other thing is this idea of that got perpetuated that, you need to spend 10,000 hours to be an expert, in something. And I think that is also total crap. I mean, you could spend the next 5 years working 40 hours a week, get your 10,000 hours and be an expert in nothing. Okay. Or you could spend the next 2 weeks probably going deep on AI and then start posting about it and know more than 99% of the people out there. And the number one content format in all of social media is building in public. It's the people like, okay, I don't know crap about YouTube. I'm starting a YouTube channel. I'm going to take you every day, what I'm doing, the wins, the losses, and whatever. That is what we want. We want the realness. We want to be part of the journey. So I think this idea of, you have to be an expert before you do whatever, or any of this other garbage, I think it's just total trash.
I think that the world right now, it changes what it seems like the world wants from us. But it seems like right now they want authenticity. But I'm like, isn't that what they've always wanted? It just seems like it's being verbalized now.
Yeah, and I think, look, that word's a tough word. Because I think that people have a hard time figuring out what the hell does authentic even mean. I mean, you're an authentic dude and it feels authentic, but I think when the people are like, okay, I'm going to be authentic now, like that, in and of itself, you're not going to be authentic, because if you have to flip a switch to become authentic, then that's it. You failed. It's not going to work, whatever. So it is the North Star. It is what everybody wants to do. I just think that people have a hard time actually figuring out what it actually means.
Is that why one of the gurus out there said, hey, document, don't create?
Yeah, I love that. And that's true. You know what I mean? That's why I think TikTok works so well for so many people. It's the format that works on TikTok is, hey, I'm out here. I just went to this restaurant. I dropped food on myself. This restaurant's pretty cool, but they're missing smoothies or whatever. It's like, oh, cool. Not a perfect situation. Great. I can relate.
Are you a guy that when you talked about your database is the most valuable thing a company would have, that means it would go for an independent contractor, somebody starting out a big business? Is there a number that when you've worked with big brands and you've worked with huge companies, is there a number you're trying to get to? Build the database to this and it's actionable. You can do something with it.
No, I would say the opposite. People get nervous, like, well, we can't start a newsletter. We only have 30 people, in our database, or, we can't start to promote to it because we barely gotten going. We only have 400 people. I don't believe that. I go, if you got one person that signed up for your stuff, treat them like gold, send them relevant stuff, and continue to grow that. There is no size too small. Your database is too small when you want to do scientific tests. I want to test an A version and a B version of this creative, and I have 400 people on my list. You're wasting your time. Who cares? Send it all, the same thing to everybody, whatever. The size of your database only becomes relevant when you're trying to become more and more sophisticated. But so you have to get in front of them.
What about video and email?
Video and email doesn't work. GIFs do. Animated GIFs that look like a little bit of a video. Here's the number one way to get people to watch video using email. It's really simple, and people get it all wrong. So what you want to do, let's say you have a video, a 2-minute video, you want people to watch about whatever on your site. Doesn't matter. Okay, what you do is you don't try to embed the video in the email or any of that garbage. You take a screenshot of the first part of that video, and then you put a big red play button as if it's like a YouTube video, and you overlay that onto your image. So now you have an image with a big red play button on it, okay? And then you send out your email saying, you got to check this out, blah, 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 greatest 90-second video with that image of the play button. They click on it. It goes right to where that video is on your page, and they click again when they get to your landing page. We are like trained dogs. When we see that red play button, we have to click it. Okay. And that's how you get video consumed in email. It actually increases your video consumption just by having that red play button on your image by about 30%, just by doing that one tactic.
Do we explain too much in email? We should use it as a resource to connect to the rest of our content and who we are.
I think depending on the email, right? So if your email is this long form newsletter, okay, great. You don't need to take people into another destination. But if the goal is, leads and pipeline and getting conversations going, then yeah, you need to really dial back what you're saying and provide value. You say, this is 3 tips you need to know. Here's a downloadable asset. You can't miss it, whatever, and get people to then take the action. So they're basically raising their hand. And when they click, they are raising their hand that they're interested in that thing. So you just have to be in the mindset. People make a mistake of email. When they hit send, they're trying to have 7 different things occur. Every time you would send, you say, okay, this email has a purpose. What is the purpose? Is the purpose to get the video watched, to get the thing downloaded, for them to register for whatever? It has a purpose. And then everything in that email should drive to that purpose. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. People don't realize that about 19% of all click-throughs in any promotional email are actually on the logo in the email. Why does that matter? Because overwhelmingly what we do is by accident, we have the logo in our email going to our homepage. It's not going to the offer destination page. So 1 in 5 clicks are going nowhere. There's literally nowhere. You want to think about every conduit to response and have it drive to the thing that you're trying to have the outcome. So like, for example, social sharing links. You send out your emails with the thing, you're trying to promote a webinar. Okay, but you on the bottom, you have your YouTube links and your Instagram. Are you hoping that they follow you on YouTube, or are they hoping that they sign up for the webinar? Whatever the thing is you want them to do, have everything go to that one thing, and that's how you win.
All the way back to the beginning when we talked about, you said how valuable email still is, and you went into it about collecting an email address, and if they leave without it, you have nothing when they go to a website. Right. I connect it to the sales environment that I'm in. What we're always trying to do is we're trying to spend all this energy to foment these new relationships and do such a good job that we have these repeat customers or referrals. And what I'm envisioning is when people have that email, when it shows back up in their inbox, they already have an understanding of you and your company. That's what it feels like to me, versus trying to attract somebody new all the time. And that's the benefit, that even if they haven't shopped or even if they haven't bought, they went there and they engage with you in some manner. So when it shows back up, it seems like you already have a head start on a brand new lead.
I double down on that. But the one thing I would say is when you think about your email, you can't always be asking them to do something that benefits you.
Yeah.
What you really want to do, and Gary Vee is great at this. He talks about this all the time. You want to give, and then ask. Yeah. And that's how it works in email too, where give them a hero stat. 47% of people in this neighborhood are doing this. Check this out. Here's this new guide. You don't even have to fill out a form. Here it is for you. Here's some articles we found that are perfect, blah, blah, blah. And then the 4th email will be like, we'd love for you to sign up and for this webinar or talk to our team or whatever. If all you're doing is asking, can we have a call? Can we have a call? Can we have a call? It's going to mean that you are trash in that person's mind. But if you actually give them stuff that's of value to them without you asking them to actually do anything, right? That's how you become a resource for them, that they look forward to your emails and then they will want to engage with you. So thinking about, yes, you want to show up, but you want to show up in their minds in a positive way.
We're talking about digitally building relationships here.
Yes, that's 100% right.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I've been good in life engaging and meeting a new person and creating something there, but it is really hard to do what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it is, and it's an everyday thing. It's exhausting.
So when you sit down with a new client, what are some of your first questions? You're probably like, hey, we need to figure it out. Are we going to work? Do the services we provide? What's the campaign going to look like? Is our budget right? Like, where does this start? Are you I hate the term, but are you a soup to nuts? Is it A to Z? Or it's like, hey, we fit just in this one area. Could you take someone's, here's my ask, here's what I want to accomplish, here's what we do, help me build my audience, my database, my marketing. What are you the best at?
I like taking content that people have and getting it consumed. Meaning if they have video content they want consumed, if they want people to register for webinars, if they want them to go to events, if they have an offer that they want consumed. I am not a brand awareness guy. I'm not out there for like, oh yeah, we got all these impressions and people saw it and whatever. I like being held accountable where, okay, we did this. You got this many new people added to your database, this many people downloaded a thing, subscribed to a thing, bought a thing, and the lifetime value of that customer is now this, that, or whatever. I personally like the game of being held accountable, because I tell people all the time, I go, we will not be a winner for everybody. We will fail. Okay. We're not for everybody, but we're going to test stuff. Some of it's going to work. Whatever does work, I want to double down on it, throw gas on the fire. So, there are plenty of agencies out there, marketing companies that are like, yeah, we're going to get you, exposure and followers and whatever. I'm like, to me, that's horse trap.
You learned that this is the right approach because it's the truth, huh? Versus all the fluff probably early in the career trying to get the business.
Well, look, other people are really good at it. You know what I mean? It's like, if that's your jam, and it's important, obviously, is to build a brand and build an ethos and whatever, and make all the pictures look pretty. I just care about, does this convert? Did you do this? Now you have pipeline, now you have sales, and you rang the bell. That's what I get excited about.
Sounds like Wolf of Wall Street here stuff, man.
Yeah, without a lot of the bad parts.
Right.
Yeah.
You've lived a full journey here. You've traveled a full career that most people haven't gotten to. You've been exposed at so many levels, worked hard. No doubt you put the hours in. You found a way to do it now, probably with fewer hours if you want to. But what has a chance of getting you really excited professionally now? Like, if you could create it and write it, and it would pay the most it would possibly be, because we know Jay's about to cash money. Like, we get it, right?
Right.
However, if you got to write the script and it would play out exactly the way you wanted it to professionally, how would it be written?
I'm doing new things. What happened was during COVID. So I have this marketing agency, about 100 or so people. And during COVID, I got really scared. All the marketing budgets were being cut. And I was like, am I going to make payroll? And I didn't want to fire anybody. I didn't want to lay anybody off for furlough or whatever. And I was like, oh, crap, I might go out of business. And so at that moment, I didn't have any social media, anything. I never posted on social media before. I had almost no connections on LinkedIn, the whole thing. And I was like, if I'm going to stay in business, I got to meet a zillion more people. And that's when I started going crazy on social media. I started all these big, giant virtual events that we put on, all this stuff. And that led me down this path of getting myself out there more, right? And now that's led me to having a podcast, and now I'm writing a book and all this stuff. So I'm on a journey right now of getting comfortable, I guess being uncomfortable, because in my regular life, I don't know if I've ever posted on Facebook or Instagram for that matter, or any of that stuff. I'm not, one of these people that's like, oh yeah, everywhere, whatever, in my regular life. So it's this idea of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and then doubling down on kind of this world that we're in now, that's this personality led brands and businesses. So is it what I want to do? No, I think what I want to do is get comfortable with what it is that I think we need to do now in this new AI world.
Which is creating this brand?
Which is being a personality-led brand. I think every brand, big, small, doesn't matter. And especially in the coming years, there's going to have to be a human or multiple humans within every brand that is identified very closely with those companies, because we're going to want to hear from people. People want to follow and learn from people, especially as this AI tidal wave of garbage is coming. And so if you're just brand first always, I think you're going to have a problem. And that's something that, we're very focused on now.
So how are we going to know what's real and what's not? Can you see this 2 and 3 years down the road as AI continues to evolve? Because I'm not pissed or not scared or anything. I just, as a consumer, when it's not my own company, as a consumer, I just want to know which one is which.
Yeah, listen, I'm not one of these people that says AI is going to take your job and all this crap. I think everything's going to be like AI adjacent. Like whatever industry you're in, it's going to make your job cooler, better, more proficient, more whatever. It's going to change, obviously, whatever, all of that. But I'm not nervous about any of that. And I think it's important to jump on board and understand it. I do think, and I'm not like, well, government, blah, 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 who cares, politics, I hate all that crap. But there needs to be, and there will be, regulation around kind of content and information that's put out there that's AI, because it's going to take just probably 6 months to a year of content being really confusing for people. And then the pushback is going to be enormous. And then things are going to be reined in. And I think that that's where we're headed, because there's no other option. You can't have where, you go online, you're seeing these images of horrible things happening. You think they're real and they're not real. That's kind of like end of the world crap. And I don't think that we're going to let it get there.
All right, so we have a few minutes here. If you go to your website, the video that shows up in the background is you on a stage in a nice place having a conversation with some folks in the crowd.
Right.
I thought about it. I was like, what does this marketing and email, what does this guru, how does he feel being on that stage?
I do a lot of public speaking. I think that it's a great way to get your brand out there. I will tell you that as I've gotten older, I've gotten more respectful of my time. I used to be, when I was young, I would say, anybody want to meet with me, I'll get on a plane and go. Okay. And then I realized that's an epic waste of my time. So I've migrated a lot more to webinars and podcasts and virtual events. And I think in general, be respectful of your own time. Like, know why you're going. Don't just go to go. And I will tell you, when you're not a successful business person, in my opinion, when you're just going on the road because you want to get a fun night in a hotel room, some free dinners, a great, whatever, and it's not about getting that business, meeting somebody incredible, getting in front of this right company, then you're kidding yourself and you're on a road to nowhere. So be respectful of your time. Public speaking is a fantastic thing. I wish I did it even sooner. But I don't love, going on the road for a bunch of days.
I think about the moments that I have. You've been on way more stages than I have, probably for what people would pay you and talking about your expertise. But every time there's a relationship that's made and the connections that are made there, you instantly spike all of the ways you want to interact with people every time I've left one. I don't know if that's been your experience.
Oh, 100%.
Yep.
There's so much good that comes out of it. You also get, not only do you connect with people, and it's the best way to connect, but you also get more confident in all of the other ways that you communicate with people. I mean, I'll tell you, getting up on a stage and where there's an audience, I mean, I know not everyone's going to be in front of like 10,000 people, but when I've done that, it is like, holy crap, this is wild. And then anything after that is like a walk in the park. It's like, I could do anything. But I will tell you, whether you're speaking on a Zoom to 5 people, in a meeting, in a conference room to 10 people, on a giant stage or whatever, you really need to think about how you're speaking and what you're saying, because it matters. And I'll tell you, I think there's some epic mistakes that people make with the way they speak. Again, small Zoom, conference room, whatever, which is, you want to fill the space. I think it's important to be animated. You need to bring the energy for everybody that you are speaking to. I hate when people start out any dialogue and say, these are the 7 things that we're going to go over. I don't care if it's a small group or a big group. Don't ever do that, because all they're thinking about is, what is the 7th thing? I need this thing to end. And just don't be boring. But I think public speaking in any capacity, small or large, is a game changer.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for this time today. I hope the weather down in Florida is nice and sunny, because in the Midwest it's a little rainy this summer.
But flaming hot.
Yeah, flaming hot. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sure we're going to take a lot away from this, and I'm pumped about following you. What's the one place you want LinkedIn? You want the website? What's the one place that listeners should come check out?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I post way too much crappy stuff there, and would love to connect with you. And if I could ever be of any use to anybody out there, appreciate you. And thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, look for the next book. What's the new title again? Give us that last one.
Stupider People Have Done It. There it is.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.